Welcome back. Today we're doing jack-o'-lanterns, stacked pumpkins like you see here, and varying faces. We're going to Google jack-o'-lantern faces because you can find all kinds, and we'll use those as a reference for which faces we want to do. All right, now to give you a good idea of what size they are, let's go ahead and bring them closer to the camera. You can see these are out of 6-inch 2x2 blocks, and they all have different faces. Not one of the faces is similar. Cartoon faces or regular old jack-o'-lantern faces, which are kind of face you might want to do. We can Google and find a plethora of faces available to us that we can choose willy-nilly at random or do whatever face we want to, and mix and match even different eyes from different sets, and different mouths with different sets, and we'll get ourselves quite a variety of pumpkins. So, like I said, we're starting off with this 6-inch long, 2-inch by 2-inch block. I seem to have misplaced my tape measure, so today we're going to be using this wooden ruler, and as you can see, about 6 inches long there for our block, and it is 2 inches wide. And we're going to do some rough lines because these jack-o'-lanterns are going to be roughly 1/3 of the carving each. You don't have to do that. You can make one shorter, you can make one taller. Just for this first set here, we're going to do roughly 1/3 each, okay? And then on the top here, we're going to round it out to where this is vaguely circular in shape, like a cylinder, a tall cylinder. That's the first thing that we're going to do. So most of these lines are going to get cut off here right at the beginning. And before I get too far into it, I'm just going to take all these hard edges off, as I always do. So I'm going to speed this portion up because this is boring. Now all I'm doing here is just rounding off those hard edges on every corner, taking off the hard edge. So there we go. I got to block all those hard edges off, and we still got our lines here on the top and on the bottom. So we're going to start by turning this into a cylinder. Now, all I'm doing here is just taking off these corners here, like a good, maybe a 1/4 inch in, a little more, 3/8. And we're just making a dowel rod, basically. Taking these corners off in each of the 4 corners. Watch the way your wood grain reacts. You can see there's a lot of splitting going on right here, right? And as I go ahead and push this knife in, it might start to go real deep. So there it went real deep, and we're just going to flip it around and come the opposite direction to keep from losing too much wood in that area. Pay attention to your wood grain, right? You can follow a lot of carvers cut by cut, but if you do, you're going to run into problems, and this is one of them that you've got to learn how to adapt to and overcome on your own. I can't show you because I'm not there with you with your particular piece of wood. So learning how to work around that wood grain is paramount. And that's all you're really doing here is just, like I said, cutting off those hard corners, curving the block around, looking to get a cylinder shape from top to bottom. And I don't think you really need me showing you how to carve something into a cylinder. So we're going to speed the section up here and just get through all the hard work. I'll throw up some graphics there to entertain you. I'm still learning so much about how to record videos and things that I can do, and the options are available to me, so bear with me. In a year's time, I'm going to be so good at this, you'll love every video I make, I'm certain. But until I get there, I'm going to be experimenting, trying new things, and we're going to learn together. All right, we're coming to the end of this little montage here, and we've got this almost into a cylindrical shape that we need. What about there? So this is just a rough cylinder. It is not a perfect cylinder, and it doesn't need to be because we're making pumpkins, right? We're not making a dowel rod, we're making pumpkins. And we're going to put our lines back on here like a general area. And again, you don't have to go with 1/3 for each pumpkin. You could just go with a little bit less or a little bit more if you want a taller pumpkin or a shorter pumpkin. They want a big, tall pumpkin in the middle, a short one in the middle, or whatever. So I'm just going to go with generally 1/3 of the stick for each one. So about 2 inches tall for each of these pumpkins. It's a 6-inch stick. And just getting a rough drawing here, right? I'm not even measuring it out. I'm just using my finger as a guide. Try to keep that the same spot. So this, maybe the middle one would be a little bit bigger than the top and bottom. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. All right, the next is, again, a lot of work. It's the same basic task over and over again. We're just going to put V-cuts in here all the way around the base here. So we're just going to V-cut, small V-cuts, and work our way around this whole cylinder. Nothing complicated. A little bit at a time. And when you see me carving, you may think to yourself, wow, he's taking off a lot of wood sometimes. And, maybe I am taking off more wood than you. Don't take off more than you think you're able to. Take your time. Take off a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, until you get to the desired depth that you need. Right now, we're just setting a line, and then we're going to go back through, and we're going to make it all deeper. And then we're going to go back through, and we're going to cut a line, basically, for our pumpkins at the bottom there. Nice and easy. I always take a moment to get all my chips in a pile because it bothers me when they're sitting all around, spread across the table. So now we're just doing a little bit bigger of a V-cut all the way around, taking out a little bit more and increasing the angle of our indentation here. And we're just going to carry that through all the way around the top. And eventually we'll get to do that on the bottom line as well. Just take your time. Nice and easy. I tell you, I like whittling. This is just such a relaxing hobby. You can make something that some will love, and you can just take your time doing something slow and methodical. Nothing difficult, nothing crazy, nothing that requires a lot of thought about your day, about what happened, about things you need to do. You can just concentrate on making a pumpkin. See, I'm not making real clean cuts on all this. Doesn't have to be clean yet. We're getting rough cuts, and we're just creating depth here. We're not worried about making it real clean and pretty yet. That's when we get further in. I'm just working on that top line right now. Bringing that top line down more to match the same angle the bottom has. Now with that done, we're going to work on next. We're going to work on creating that separation between these two. So we're going to do a very sheer, very high angle V-cut throughout the middle of this channel here. Trying to make some separation between the top and the middle section here, right? Because we want it to look like two pumpkins are sitting one on top of the other, and not they're connected as if they're one piece of substrate. We want to separate it. And that requires getting a very sharp angle here. Sharp and sheer, coming in at a much greater angle than we did for the initial V-cuts. And that'll separate things out for us. And just keep doing that, working along, cleaning up these cuts now a bit here in the middle, right? You don't want to have a lot of cut lines. You want to make it nice and clean as best you can. Separating that, very sheer angles coming in, and just taking out small slivers of wood. Nothing too big. You can see it's already starting to look like maybe these two pieces are sitting one on top of the other. Not. Now with that top one, I want you to take a look at these here, kind of close up here. You can see that separation there, right? See what we're going for? Like two pumpkins sitting one on top of the other. That's where you bring it in at a real sharp angle there between those. And we'll do the same thing here for the next section. Start with our nice shallow V-cuts. Since we're just repeating the same thing, I'm going to skip this. By all means, pause the video here. Do it yourself. Get it done. And if you want to rewatch the first part, you can to see, follow along. But you don't need to watch the exact same thing a second time. All right, so we got all of that separated out right here with those two lines. Nice and sheer angles there. So we can start working on curving the top half and the bottom half here. So we're going to just cut off those hard corners and start to curve this in a little bit at a time. Like so. And after we get this hard angle here, we're going to do another shallower angle along the top. We want to roll that over all the way across the top and carve off all those saw marks, right? When you leave saw marks on a carving, they take paint and stain differently than wood that's been touched by a blade. So we want to get all of that off. Now we're going to do this more sheer angle across the top to get closer into the middle. And just keep working our way in. And then we will cut across the top there in the very middle part. And this is where you know how sharp your knife is. Because if this is easy, you get a nice clean cut. Your knife is very sharp. And if it's difficult, you know you need to sharpen or strop your knife. So you see here, we've got a good sharp knife because all those cuts look smooth like glass, nice and pretty. And that means we got a properly stropped knife. If you don't have a properly stropped knife, you're going to find out when you're cutting end grain. That's where you're going to see it before anything else. All right, so now we're just going to round this edge a bit more here. We're going to round each of the middle sections as well, and then work our way down to the bottom. We're just going to give ourselves more of a general pumpkin shape. And we're not too worried about making these good circular balls. We're just getting them roughly rounded, right? Because as we put the lines in on the pumpkins, those top to bottom lines the pumpkins have, those are really going to bring out that pumpkin shape more than anything else we can do. And so we'll get into that in a little bit. But for right now, we're just rounding off those hard edges, and we're going to work our way down the carving, doing the same thing for each step. If you're watching this far in the video, I want to give you a personal request, right? If you enjoy these videos that I do, if they help you out in any way, if you're making use of them, please subscribe to the channel. It's not a whole lot to do, and it really does help me out. So just go ahead and down the bottom, click that subscribe button, and click the like button, because both those things really, really help out the channel. They help me out, and I would really appreciate it. So we're still just carving away those hard edges, knocking off the best we can, and rounding things out, working on the next section here. And we're just going to keep doing this all the way up until we get to the bottom of our carving, because we've got the carving held in our hand upside down right now. And just keep rounding things off. This is a simple carving. There's nothing hard here. There's nothing overly complex. It's just that some folks might not know how to go about carving a face or how to go about setting this up. And I want to make sure we go over simple carvings like this too, because they're fun, beginner type of carvings that just can be really enjoyable. And people like these little guys. They want to have them in their homes. They want to have them on their desk, on the table in their entryway. They want to have them on a bookshelf. They like having fall decorations that are whimsical and fun. And so that's what we're just making, some whimsical and fun fall decorations that your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your neighbor down the street can easily enjoy and display however long they want to in the year. All right, so now we got that done. Now we're going to work on the bottom. Now the bottom, we don't want to carve like we did the top here, right? We want to have that nice and flat so that it stays sturdy and doesn't fall over. So we're going to carve, round it out a little bit, but not too much. We just want to get a shape of that pumpkin, that way it doesn't fall over like that, right? So we're just going to curve this edge like so. Not putting too much of a corner on it. We'll curve it down, but we don't want to get too deep in there. Just a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time, working it around. And like I said, we're not going to get too far in there with the bottom. We want to keep that flat surface that's there. So that's the one spot we're going to leave some saw marks. Now we'll just round off this hard edge here, coming down to it. And that'll take care of a good bit of that for us. All right, now with that done, we can start looking at our faces. So I'm going to pop up an overlay here, and you'll be able to take a look at some faces. All I'm doing here is I'm Googling pumpkin faces. And there are a huge variety of pumpkin faces that are available on the internet. And I'm just searching pumpkin faces and then looking at images that pop up. And you get a plethora of options for how you can do these faces. You can just copy the eyes from one, and the mouth from this one, and the nose from this one. Or you can do the whole face maybe. I like that one there in the middle there. It looks pretty neat. But you can do whichever ones that you want to in whatever way you want to, or you can just make these faces up as you go along. Whatever works best for you, that's how you want to do it. That's how we'll get it done. What you shouldn't do is just copy my face, right? Don't just do the same ones I'm doing. Do something fun. Do something original. Do whatever you want to. If you want to copy mine, that's fine. But just make sure you feel free to change it up and not just follow the same pattern, you know? You obviously don't need to see me draw this face, so I'm skipping past that, and we're going to get right to carving them out, right? Now, these are flat faces, so all we have to do is carve in a little indentation, right? We're not going to remove much. We're going to outline all of this with a knife, and then we're just going to carve up to on the inside of our mouth, on the inside of our eyes, up to that line. Okay? We're just moving a tiny bit, like so. Just something that we can come back in and paint black and have it plenty of definition between the pumpkin portion and the black of the eye, the black of the mouth, and so on and so forth. So nothing complex. Just take your time when outlining these faces. And we're going to speed this part up too, because you're not outlining the same face I am. Maybe you're doing a different one. You're just doing a straight outline, bringing the knife straight in along the lines that you've done. And rotate the carving as needed to get the right angle on what it is that you're doing. And bring that knife straight into the carving to outline the mouth and the eyes. And then we'll carve on the inside of these things up to our lines and stop cuts to remove things. Now, I'm going to let you watch the whole part of this mouth, because this is one of the more complicated parts that you're probably going to try to do. It's like a mouth like this. It's very jagged and the teeth are close together. You're going to see me through this section here bounce around a lot as I rotate up, I rotate down to get the bottom tooth here. I'm looking for where I can fit this knife in. I can fit it in for here for this cut, but what about for this upper portion here? Well, I'm going to need to flip it around to this section of the mouth here, and I'll need to flip it around again to the bottom section here. The takeaway that you see is that even I'm flipping this thing around all the time, and I might flip it around and find, oh, that's the wrong angle. Let me go back to what I was doing before. That's going to be a better angle, right? I'm by no means an expert. I am just an enthusiastic amateur showing you what I know. But even then, I don't know it all. None of us do. We're all learning. It's all a journey to get better at a chosen hobby. Moving on to the eyes in the bottom of this guy here. These are just round eyes. Pretty easy to outline and then carve over to. You can do something different here, though, if you want to. If you want to show off a little bit, maybe feel like you're doing better than you might have been done previously. Try to do a little geometric shape here on the eye, right? With the material that you remove, what is going to be the shape of the middle of the eye? Maybe you can try to make that shape a triangle or an octagon or whatever it is you want to, maybe, you know? Give yourself a little challenge there if you want to. You don't have to. You can just carve the eye and be done with it too. Just something you can figure out on, see if you want to try for. And, we'll go ahead and move on past this eye, work on this other eye as we keep going. Just gentle. Not push the knife too far in. Just carefully working on removing that little bit. We're not looking to get a lot of depth here, just looking to create an indentation, a delineation between the surface of the pumpkin and the inside of the eye, or the inside of the mouth, and the inside of the nose. Now this mouth here is going to be a stitched up mouth, so I'm going to do a simple slice down the middle, and then we're going to carve down to it at a shear angle to create a little bit of an opening. And then we'll do the same thing again, but more of a shear angle here from the bottom as well. And then we'll put some little V-cuts in here for stitches. Right, so where our lines were, plenty across there, and we'll match up the same exact spots on the top of the mouth as we did on the bottom of the mouth to give that illusion of stitches, right? Exactly what we're going for. And that gives them that scarecrow mouth or zombie mouth kind of look. Looking pretty good. This nose is just going to be a pyramid cut, coming in at an angle, meeting up in the middle, 3 cuts, and it pops right out. Nice and easy, and we'll paint black up in there. But now we're going to work on this bottom mouth. And again, just tracing the outline and then removing that negative space in the middle just a little bit to create that delineation. Nothing overly complex. Take your time here. Rotate the carving as needed. Don't cut yourself. That's the key. And we'll be all set. With this mouth done, we'll be able to work on the eyes down here next. This nose here. This nose, I'm just doing not going to do the pyramid cut. We're just going to cut the corners out for it. Just tracing out the line and then cutting out each corner individually, which will leave a little bit of a hump in the middle. And you can either cut that out or not if you want to. Clean it up how you see fit. Whatever makes you happy. That's what you should do. And these eyes are going to be a little more complex because they've got little slivers of an eye in the bottom, right? And I like those. I think those are neat. Those are cute. So we're going to make sure we leave those in, being very careful to outline our cuts and then remove that negative space, just like everything else we're doing here. A little bit at a time. Rotate your carving as needed to get that easy cut. There's a way to do that cut where it's not difficult, where it's not going to be hard. Rotate your carving a few times and look for that spot. Look for that place to hold your knife, to hold the carving, so you can get it done relatively easy. I'm thinking I should probably do a tool video where I talk about different tools you can use for wood carving, different knives, V gouges, U gouges. If that kind of thing sounds like something you want to see, let me know down in the comments below. Say something, tell me, hey, I'd like to see a video on that, Johnny. And yeah, I'll get it taken care of. But like I said, we're just removing that little bit inside the eyes, a little bit at a time, taking our time. Nothing hard. It's just a lot of work to get these done right. And there we go. All right, I think that's looking fantastic. But you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to put a stem up on top here. But that's okay. See, normally I would think about redoing the video and doing it right. But that's not how people learn, right? They learn, like, how do we correct this as we go? So I'm going to take off more along this top now and curve this in more to allow for that little bit of stem. So I'm doing a very sheer angle coming in here, but I'm not going all the way to the middle. I'm going close to the middle so that I can do some stop cuts along the top and create that stem. So I'm not going to redo this video, right? We're going to fix this carving that we started to make a mistake on so that you see, for one, Johnny makes mistakes too, and two, how you should correct this mistake. Like something like this, can you correct it? Absolutely I can. I can just put that thing in right now, and then I'll adjust where the eyes are on this top figure accordingly. And it will look just fine when we're done. No one will notice that we almost made a mistake, that we almost left a pumpkin without a stem. And yet, if we had, we could have simply drilled a hole in the top of this carving and shoved a dowel rod down into it. And we would have had a good little stem for us right then, without a problem. As you can see, I'm just cutting down that stem and rounding it off towards the middle there and cutting in towards it. Now, once we get that done, we got a good stem there. We're going to carve off or round off the top of this pumpkin back the way we had it originally. And this top guy will just be a little bit shorter than he was going to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Matter of fact, we probably won't even have to redraw our eyes. I don't think we will, actually. Rounding that off as I go around there. All right. And we don't even need to redraw our eyes. We're just go ahead and start carving those eyes on the top here. Removing that excess material on the negative space in the middle. After we finish tracing our eyes out. And take your time. You don't have to do as quick as I do. As you practice carving, the more carvings you do, the quicker you get. I have carved a lot of these little pumpkin stacks, and so I'm pretty quick with carving pumpkin stacks. If you come into this and you don't carve this as quickly as I do, you should not be saying to yourself, why can't I carve this as quickly as Johnny? Carve 20 of them. And after you carve 20 of them, Think about how much quicker you are then than the first time you've carved them. Of course you're going to be fast. You've gotten good at that. You know exactly what the next step is without thinking about it. You know how to hold that knife, how to curve that knife for this particular cut on this particular guy because you've done it so many times before. And that's the key, right? Practice. Practice makes perfect. All right, so now we're going to put our little lines. Pumpkins have lines. We don't make sure they're not in line with each other. So we're going to separate them out like here. Then we can put one in the middle again down here, the top of the head there. Maybe two on this one, and then one on the one above. I'm going to show you here, and I'm going to show you here. You can do this with a knife if you want to. Just do a nice slice cut there, angled inward slightly, and then one on the other side here. We can angle it in slightly, and you can create a nice little V channel here, and then round it out, and that works just fine for creating those lines. So that's one way to do this. You can use a knife, and you can have this whole thing done with a knife, just like so. Or you can do what I would prefer to do, and that's use this number 15 file Swiss made gouge and just get this done a whole lot quicker, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a nice deep channel here in various spots along the top of the pumpkin head. Come in working from the middle down and from the middle up. And right to the stem, same thing here. Right at the stem, and then from the middle down, right at the base of the neck there, or the base of that start of the bottom pumpkin, the same thing. From the middle up, middle down, middle down, middle up, creating those channels. And then a couple lines right here on the top of the head. If they're not going to go through the face, that would just hamper the way our face turned out. We don't want to detract from how awesome our face is here. So middle down there, and then some lines here at the bottom. We'll put some V cuts in there. Now I'm going to show you how to do the top one here, because it's going to be the same thing over and over again for the bottom as well. We're just going to use this knife here to round off these hard edges from the V gouge, right? And that's all I'm going to do. Round it off all the way to the top, and now I do the other side and round it off here. And that cut is done right there. So now we work with the second one. Rounding it off, rounding it off, rounding this one off, and then we'll keep going. And you just work your way around, rounding all these hard edges off, right? And I'm rounding one side of each cut off first because it's easy to maintain this angle. And then I'll flip it around and I'll do the other side of that cut. And you just keep rounding these off. And that's how you make that nice pumpkin-like contour there along the top of this thing. And then here at the top of the carving, you might want to deepen those V channels here at the top, right? So I'll just take the knife, cut in, deepen those V channels up a little bit, going up to that stem to clean those up, make them look pretty. Round off those hard edges. And we're going to do the same thing for each of these pumpkins on down the carving. The middle pumpkin and the bottom pumpkin, the same thing. We're going to draw those lines in with the V tool, randomizing where they go, and then just rounding them out. Rounding them out here. And the bottom sides of these cuts as well. Like so. And honestly, when you get these done like this, it has such a great pumpkin look. I really like the way it turns out. Really neat. Really enjoyable. And that's just fantastic. There we go. That guy's looking great too. Alrighty. I'm going to speed up the next sections of pumpkins because you don't need to see every detail on doing the exact same thing we just did this top pumpkin here for each of the bottom pumpkins. You can see that turned out really well. And we're just going to continue that down, same thing, using two tools, the V tool and the knife, and make this guy, well, get him finished up, you know? So let's go ahead and speed this up. Now tell me this, what kind of carvings do you want to see going forward, right? What do you want to do? Let me know down in the comments below, and we'll figure out some new carvings to do, some new tutorials, based on some of your suggestions maybe, if you give me some good ones. All right? So here we go. We got all this sped up and done. And this is just repeating the same thing for the second and third pumpkins down to the bottom, which will complete the stack. Just remember to take your time on this, right? You don't want to rush it. Make sure those lines are good and clean, your cuts are controlled, and if you do it right, you're going to have a really great looking pumpkin once this is done. Now, as we get to the bottom of this guy, remember we want to keep that base nice and flat. But what we're going to do to accent it is we're going to put little V-cuts in, right, like so, along the bottom ridge of every one of those ridges that's coming down. So we kind of undercut that ridge coming down the pumpkin up underneath the carving. This will leave the base of the carving still flat, so it makes it nice and sturdy for standing up, but it gives an extra little definition there along the bottom, which looks fantastic. And there we go. This guy's all finished up. And then this is what he looks like after a 2 to 3 minute bath under the sink with a scrub brush. He looks fantastic. Now for painting on this particular guy, I went with a burnt umber base coat and then a heavy dry brushing of jack-o'-lantern orange and a light dry brushing of sunset gold. Check out my painting video, which you can see right here. Don't forget to like the channel and subscribe, please. It really does help. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.